Hello, Archie Dunlop here with Talking Astrology with Archie. In this video, I'm going to be looking at the weekend of December the 23rd and 24th, 2023. Now, as far as my topics are concerned, I want to look at two people who have been in the news recently. One of them is Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University, who has been getting criticism for a number of reasons. There was the encounter in Congress. What's her name? With Congresswoman Stefanik, in which she was constantly asked the question, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? And Claudine Gay refused to answer that yes, in a sort of a yes or no way. And she sort of said, oh, well, it depends on the context. And that testimony, got a lot of negativity. And straight away after that, she was accused of plagiarism. Plagiarism in the academic world is, something very serious. She's been accused of, in her dissertation, sort of taking text written by someone else, putting it in her dissertation, making a few minor changes, not having quotation marks and so on. And so, there's this question of whether she should really stay on as president of Harvard. The other person I want to look at is David Kozak. And David Kozak was the person responsible for the shootings in Prague. And in that shooting, I think altogether 15 people were killed. I think that might include him. And now it's turned out that he's probably killed two people earlier in the month. He killed a father walking, in a stroller with his 3-month-old baby. So David Kozak would seem to be a serial killer in quite a sort of a major way. So I want to talk about those two people. Now, in both cases, I don't have a date of birth that I'm entirely comfortable with. Sort of English Wikipedia for Claudine Gay says that she's born in 1969 or 1970. That sounds a bit vague. But when you look at, say, Russian Wikipedia, clearly says she's born August the 4th, 1970. When you do a Google search, August the 4th, 1970 just keeps coming up. So I'm going to look at her horoscope based on August the 4th, 1970. I'm reasonably comfortable that that's okay. As far as David Kozak is concerned, similar issue. Wikipedia doesn't say what his date of birth is. But a bit of Googling, I found what is probably his date of birth. So, for example, let me just show you this. This is time.ba, which BA, I think that's a Bosnian domain name. So to show you what it says here. So there it is. This is time. So let's just, I think I can just translate this to English by pressing a button. Okay. Time, it says, creepy messages from a mass murderer from Prague published. I hate this world and I want to cause as much as pain as possible in it. And then it says, a few days before he decided to commit such a massacre, the attacker shared disturbing messages. well, I won't go into whatever day, whatever life, read the message. I drank tea and I want to kill myself, he wrote the next day. I hate this world and I want to cause as much pain as possible in it. Then 2 days later, he complained that his ears were ringing so much that he would pull them out. Now, there's a photograph of him, and on the left, there is some details. This is in Czech, not that I can read Czech, but I think it's pretty clear what it's saying. A datum narození, which is date of birth, which is European format date, not an American format date. That would be 12th of August 1999. I think that may be where he was born, in Kladno. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter because I haven't got a time of birth, so anywhere in the Czech Republic will do. So I'm going to go with August the 12th, 1999 as his date of birth. So we got two Leos I want to talk about today. And in both cases, I'm not 100% sure that I've got the date of birth right, but I think I have. So I'm just warning you about the issue there. Okay, now before I talk about these two people, I want to look at the astrology and the I Ching for today, which is, for the weekend of December the 23rd and 24th, 2023. Okay, so let's go. So this is the positions of the planets for midnight on December the 24th, which is a Sunday, 2023. So that's like right in the middle of the weekend. So what's the main stuff happening? What's going on this weekend? I'm not saying it's going to be a dramatic weekend. On Saturday, you can see that Saturday at midnight, moon is at end of Taurus in New York. So Saturday is more of a Taurus day. Sunday is more of a Gemini day. So on Saturday, with the moon in Taurus, we're going to be more staid. We'll be looking for stability. We're going to want to sort things out. Then on Sunday, as the moon moves into Gemini, there's more excitement, there's more talking, there's more activity, there's more thinking, perhaps a little more worrying. Do we do this or do we do that? And so that's how the moon impacts the weekend. Now on Saturday, there is an important event in the sense that Mercury, which is going retrograde, moves backwards out of Capricorn into Sagittarius. Now, that's something of a two-edged sword. Mercury had been conjunct the Sun in Capricorn. In other words, it was combust. So Mercury is the planet of thinking, of the intellect, close to the Sun. We may not be able to think straight. We may be just burnt up, Mercury being combust. And so you could say, oh, well, Mercury moving out of Capricorn means that it loses some of its combusted status, which is good. But on the other hand, Mercury is in its detriment in Sagittarius. Mercury just doesn't work well in Sagittarius. And it stays in Sagittarius until, I think, January the 13th, something like that, middle of next month. So, Mercury is about working out the facts, looking at the facts, contemplating the facts. Sagittarius is all over the place. And so Mercury doesn't really function well in Sagittarius. It just it jumps to conclusions, which are probably the wrong conclusions. It can't think straight. Mercury is also the communication planet, and so Mercury in Sagittarius can say things without thinking, and as a result, get itself into trouble. Then on Sunday, we've got the Sun making a sextile aspect to Saturn. So you can see that there's the Sun at 2 degrees 6 Capricorn, making that sextile to Saturn at 2 degrees 35 Pisces. So Sun sextile Saturn is actually a really nice aspect. Now, I've just said that Gemini might create, a bit more conversation, indecision, that kind of thing. But this is countered by the fact that the Sun is sextile Saturn. In fact, all weekend we can feel the influence of Sun sextile Saturn. It means we can bring things down to earth. It's a stabilizing aspect. We can work hard. We can concentrate on whatever we need to concentrate on. For different people, it's going to be different things. If we want to work over the weekend, then we can. If we want to focus on, sorting out Christmas presents, I don't know, cooking the Christmas whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm a vegetarian, so Christmas turkeys don't really do much for me, but whatever needs to be cooked, that kind of thing with Sun sextile Saturn, that should work quite well. But overall, I don't think it's a particularly hectic weekend. There's not a great deal going on, and maybe that's a good thing. So perhaps we can perhaps relax over the weekend. Okay, not relax, but we can just have a pleasant weekend. Okay, it might be a busy weekend, but I think for most of us, there isn't going to be much in the way of drama. So as far as my forecast for the 12 signs, I've done them. And so these are my forecasts for the weekend. My forecast for the weekend of December the 23rd and 24th, 2023. Aries. On Saturday, you're in a fairly serious mood. There are things to be done and financial issues won't go away. If there is an unexpected demand for money, it can probably be rejected or sidestepped. On Sunday, you lighten up. You can see that things aren't perfect, but a short journey or perhaps a phone call can change everything. Taurus. You have a pretty good idea how things are going to pan out. You've done the preparations and there's no reason to expect surprises. Still, human beings are a law unto themselves, and human psychology is never entirely predictable. On Sunday, you have two choices, an expensive choice and a cheap choice. Gemini. Mercury, your ruler, is moving back into Sagittarius. On the plus side, you escape a very confusing situation. On the downside, you're capable of jumping to conclusions, and serious misunderstandings of the information you're presented with are a possibility. So accept the situation, and on Sunday, take time to familiarize yourself with important details. Cancer. On Saturday, you can be very influential. If you want something to happen, you'll know which levers to pull, and on an emotional level, you'll know what makes people tick. As you move into Sunday, Christmas Eve, you'll be focusing more on yourself rather than on complex power games. At the same time, agreement may be difficult to find. Leo. You're tempted to come back. to amuse yourself in ways that you know for sure are quite unsatisfactory, but which you've recently been involved with, hence coming back, returning to something that you should not have been involved with in the first place. But it would be better if you just stick to the task at hand. It's tedious, but correct. On Saturday, there can be gentle socializing. On Sunday, there can be gentle socializing, but the people you meet are unlikely to be on very good form. They just won't have the spark. Virgo, Mercury, your ruler, has slipped back into Sagittarius, and it stays in this sign until the middle of next month. You perhaps need to have another look at your immediate surroundings, particularly your living space. There are some arrangements that need to be changed as a way of maximizing your productivity and happiness. Libra. On Saturday, it may not be immediately clear what is going on, and if you try to read the signals, you could get it wrong. But if you assume that everything is chaotic, then I think you'll be okay. As you move into Sunday, the clouds start to clear, and you have the chance to enter a new space full of meaning and perhaps spirituality. An overseas phone call could help brighten the day. Scorpio. It's up to you how much time you give to other people. For example, friends, partners, colleagues, and maybe complete strangers. So consider your priorities and plan accordingly. If you're working over the weekend, which you might be, then you can make solid progress and outside forces won't disturb you. Sagittarius. The planet Mercury recently left your star sign. It's now returning because of its retrograde motion. You'll have plenty to say, and new plans will start to emerge, and perhaps you'll be on the receiving end of someone else's brilliant ideas. But where there's an idea, where there's a plan, there's also a trap. Be realistic. Capricorn. Your personality shines bright all weekend long. After all, the sun is in your star sign, where it makes a sextile aspect to Saturn, your ruling planet. Whatever happens, you can be true to yourself, and you won't have to compromise to make other people happy. And the less you say, the greater your power. Aquarius. This weekend, the sun makes a sextile aspect to Saturn. This aspect has an impact on relationships and creates a sense of harmony and togetherness. So existing relationships should run smoothly, not least because you'll be the one in control. At the same time, other people will be attracted to you, especially on Sunday, and new and consequential contacts are possible. Pisces. You do feel that everything is finished, that there is nothing left to do. And so the inclination is to have a relaxing weekend. But there are certain individuals who you do need to interact with. It's not a big deal, and it won't take up much of your time. But your inclinations will gravitate away from social engagements. You therefore need to make a special effort to keep up appearances. Okay, so that's the astrology for today. And so what I'm going to do now is look at the I Ching. So I asked the question, what is this weekend going to be like for those watching this video? And the first hexagram I got was hexagram 25, which is innocence. Now, innocence means that if we want something to happen, we shouldn't really think about it. We shouldn't have any expectations, Because when we have expectations, things don't happen. That's the surest way to know that something's not going to happen. You know how it is. When you really want something to happen, whether it's a phone call, a letter, or whatever, it's not going to happen when you find yourself continually thinking about it. It only happens when you stop thinking about it. And so that is the nature of innocence. We really need to have no expectations. But there's also, with this hexagram 25, there is an element of the unexpected. And there is a bit of a warning here, that, the third line moves. And the third line, as I always say, third line is often unfortunate. The third line from the bottom. And there is a danger here that something is taken from us, almost stolen. So be very careful about your property today. Just don't leave things unattended. It might have been fine before, but now it does seem to matter. So, yeah, don't leave things that are unattended. Don't trust people. Some people have to be trusted, can be trusted, but don't trust people if it's not necessary. It's not necessary if you don't really know them. Be careful, and there's a danger of being ripped off. So if you're buying stuff, check your change. Ask yourself how much you're paying for it. I suppose it's from a Christmas perspective. It's a Christmas weekend just before Christmas. Everyone wants to, buy last minute presents, or you want to, it's all in a rush, and in the process, you might spend money on something you shouldn't, or just be ripped off, spend too much money. So be really careful, and when you're transacting in a business sense, there's a possibility that of a bad transaction thing. So don't take other people's honesty for granted. Then the top line moves. The top line means that we might try our hardest to be innocent, not to push it, but we can't help ourselves. We want it. With something we want to push forward because we want it. And if we push forward, if we take the initiative in order to get something, we're not going to get it. That's too bad. So however much you want something, don't push it. But there is a great temptation to push it. So I'm really warning you there. You have to somehow maintain that innocence. Let the universe provide it. If it's yours, the universe will give it to you in the end. And there's probably nothing you can do to make it happen a second faster. Now, because we've got two moving lines, we have a movement. We move to a different hexagram. And the hexagram we move to is hexagram 49, revolution. So by Sunday, as the weekend really gets underway, we're going to feel a need for change. Structures have to change. Now, this might be an internal process. We might be looking at ourselves, looking at our faults, maybe looking at how we might need to change. Also, there might need to be a bit of a revolution in terms of the family. This weekend is a time, if you're in a Christian culture and you celebrate Christmas, there can be a lot of focus on the family and who's in control. is the right person in control? It may be that there needs to be a little revolution in the family, but a revolution not in a destructive way. This is a revolution about allowing the universe to flow. It's like when things are blocked, when things are stuck, you need a revolution ironically, you need a revolution to restore order. Remembering that the I Ching has a Confucian way of looking at it. It's all about having a well-ordered society. And yeah, if something is bad, is rotten, it's going to destroy society unless it's removed. So that's something you need to think about. But it being a Christmas weekend, you might be thinking beyond. You might be, it's a time when emotions run strong, when people do start to think about the future and what they want to do with the future, and you're looking ahead to the new year. And you may be looking at the way things are, and you're maybe thinking, this is no good. Time for a change. And that's okay. That really is okay. You don't have to necessarily initiate the change now, but you can start to make the resolution to have that change. And if you're honest with yourself, it should work out extremely well. So that's the I Ching, and I now want to go back to the astrology, and I want to start off by looking at Claudine Gay's chart. Let's there she is on the left, Claudine Gay. I'm not going to spend very long on her chart. I'm not really going to do any forecasts, look at what the transits are doing. I just want to see who this person is who has become so newsworthy, and who has been accused of being of plagiarizing in her dissertation, a dissertation which was written a long time ago. But I suppose the trouble is, in the academic world, once you write a dissertation, it's not like an exam. It's a matter of public record forever, and so yeah, you don't want to plagiarize your dissertation, because you're going to be spotted, particularly if you've just given testimony to Congress, or you've just had a conversation with Congress, with this Congresswoman Stefanik, and you have sections of the media are out to get you. You do have to be very, very careful, and that's one reason why you should be very careful about not plagiarizing your dissertation. So here is her horoscope. I think it's August the 4th, 1970. If I've got the date wrong, my apologies. I do think this chart sort of fits. You'll see that, well, she's a Leo, yes, but she's got a load of stuff in Virgo. I mean, she's got Mercury, Moon, Pluto, and Venus in Virgo. So Virgo is certainly into detail. I mean, from an academic perspective, if you want to do well in academia, having Mercury in Virgo is great. I mean, that's a great place to have Mercury. To have Moon and Mercury in Virgo, I mean, even better. I mean, that is a good place to have it. Yet we notice that Mercury is sort of conjunct the South Node, and with Mercury conjunct the South Node, there's a certain indication that she's doing something that is not quite right. By that I mean, she has her destiny, and it was perhaps very easy for her actually to get involved in academia and to sort of climb the academic ladder. It was all really straightforward. almost too easy. And so Mercury conjunct the South Node may indicate perhaps that wasn't actually the right thing for her to be doing. It was just a bit too easy. So that's the first point to make. And second point to make is this conjunction in Leo. Sun-Mars conjunction in Leo. Now, normally you'd think two male planets, they could be projected, in a female chart. But maybe she has ownership of them. Sun-Mars, if this is her birth date, she's Sun-Mars in Leo. I would guess that she had a very high opinion of herself and was a woman who was extremely stubborn, who would fight for everything. In that congressional, after that congressional meeting incident, there was pressure on her to resign. She has not resigned as president of Harvard. You would have thought she would. Apparently, Harvard has lost a lot of donors, and if you're president of Harvard, your role is apparently part of your role is to bring in the money. That's what you have to do. And if donors are doing the opposite, then you're not doing your job very well. And there is a reputational issue. Mercury conjunct the South Node. The way she communicates undermines her reputation. Because the South Node is about a bad reputation. That's another thing that it can be about. So her dissertation, her doctoral dissertation, which is integral to who she is as an academic, is now undermining her reputation, the way she had put words together, the view that she's plagiarized. So it really hasn't helped, and it's sort of cut to the very core of who she is. Another issue with Virgo, and if you're a Virgo, I apologize. I don't know, Virgo. Poor Virgos. Virgos are quite as a sign that is sort of gets a bad press. I think it's there are certain signs that at certain times are considered to be unpopular. When I was learning astrology, I've been doing this 1 year. I did this course, and right at the end of this course, it was one of these courses. I think it was from September through to the spring or something. And this woman had been in this class with me for all this year, and then she suddenly turned around and right at the end, she said she hated Geminis. She just said it, and then that was all she said. She'd expressed herself. So maybe there was a time when Geminis are the worst signs to be. Other times when it's Scorpio, and other times when it's Virgo. There is, and so with Virgo, one word that you can use to criticize Virgos is to say that they can be hypocrites. They can say one thing and sort of do something else, or what they represent. Now, if you are president of Harvard, you would have to be perfect, wouldn't you? From an academic point of view, because you are a role model for other students. And, as we know, if you're a student at a university and you get caught plagiarizing, that's serious. You're going to be disciplined. I don't know. Maybe you can, in extreme cases, be expelled. And so the president of Harvard is being accused of plagiarism. So what kind of message does that give to Harvard students? And so there, I think, is the Virgo problem, which can be a certain sense of, I would have said, a certain sense of hypocrisy. You mixed messages, saying, You should, people should be able to treat her as an absolute role model. And if she's plagiarizing, what kind of message does that give? So that is a Virgo, and I think it's a big problem. But I think she's someone who hangs on. I think she's going to. I mean, my gut feeling is that she's going to want to hang on, and if she resigns, it will only be when she really has to. That hence the Sun-Mars conjunction. In Leo, she thinks she's right. Venus-Pluto. She's got Venus-Pluto conjunction in Virgo. Venus in Virgo. The problem with Venus in Virgo is that Venus in Virgo can focus too much on the details. Venus in Virgo is actually quite materialistic. It's thinking about perhaps, the honor, the prestige, and the material benefits that go with everything, with the dissertation, with the academic career, with the huge salary that goes with being president of Harvard. Venus conjunct Pluto may be really holding on tightly perhaps in quite a selfish way. I don't think that she's necessarily thinking about Harvard. I think she's probably thinking about herself, and she's doing whatever she can to hang on to the job. That's how I would see it. As far as what's going on astrologically, I suppose Saturn has been in Pisces for some time. So Saturn in Pisces has been hitting her North Node. Saturn hitting her North Node would be a reminder telling Claudine Gay, hold on, you're supposed to be doing this, you're not supposed to be doing that. And is she listening to what Saturn is telling her? Saturn in Pisces telling her North Node in Pisces, relax, don't stop getting obsessed about details. Just think about the bigger picture. But she's hanging on, South Node in Virgo, focusing on those details, perhaps focusing on the financial details there, and so maybe Saturn is punishing her. And a lot of what's perhaps happening to her at the moment is because she's not heeding, really heeding Saturn's warning. So as far as the immediate future, well, Saturn from now on is now direct. It's going to go further and further into Pisces. It's now conjunct her North Node. Soon it will be conjunct her Mercury. We don't exactly know where her moon is because I've just taken a noon time, but it will be, maybe it's already hit her moon. So Saturn will be causing her problems. I think the general consensus is that she's not going to be staying as president of Harvard for that much longer. Okay, so that's Claudine Gay. Now let's talk about another Leo, and that is David Kozak. Now, David Kozak, here's his chart, born on August the 12th, 1999. Now, I remember August the 11th, 1999. Because there was a big event on August the 11th, 1999, at least in Western Europe. There was a total eclipse of the sun. I remember, everyone was excited about the total eclipse of the sun in the UK. I think some people actually gave themselves eye damage looking at the sun and not wearing those protective, whatever, looking at it through protective glass or whatever. I was expecting something more spectacular than what I actually saw, but what I was aware of with that total eclipse of the sun was this black arc. That's how it felt. I felt like a black arc I was in North Hertfordshire, just north of London at the time. So I saw this black arc, and that was my experience of the total eclipse. Um, I didn't. I mean, I don't think it was so bad for the UK. I mean, if you remember, 1999 was when the stock market, and particularly Nasdaq tech shares, went absolutely crazy at the end of 1999. So the eclipse didn't stop the market. The market, yeah, that's the dot-com boom was about to really boom, and in a way, it was, if I remember rightly, it was the eclipse that almost set it off. I'm not sure if that's exactly precise, but and it went up until it crashed in till it peaked, I think, in March 2000. Um, so as far as what was happening at the time of this eclipse, well, let me just have a look, see what was happening here. Hold on. Okay, this is August 1999, so August the 12th. So August the 7th, hundreds of Chechen guerrillas invade the Russian Republic of Dagestan, triggering a short war, which is just before the eclipse. August the 10th, the Atlantique incident occurring as an intruding Pakistan Navy plane is shot down in India, sparking tensions between the two nations, coming just a month after the end of the Kargil War. By the way, Kargil War, nothing to do with the eclipse, but there was almost a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. I think that Pakistan was actually considering firing nuclear weapons at India, and I think maybe Bill Clinton managed to stop them or something like that. There's August the 11th. Total eclipse is seen in Europe and Asia. Then 5 days later, August the 16th, State Duma approved Putin as prime minister. Then August the 17th, there was a massive earthquake in Turkey, northwestern Turkey, with a maximum Merkel intensity of 9, whatever that is. But it left more than 17,000 dead and around 50,000 injured. So in some parts of the world, actually, this eclipse was quite a big deal. But anyway, the day after the eclipse, David Kozak was born, and so we can look at his horoscope. Now, again, I think he was born on August the 12th, 1999. I did my research. I think it seems to be the case. Am I 100% sure? Not 100% sure. But if someone tells me tomorrow that he was actually born on a different date, I'm not going to take this video down. Okay, so assuming he was born on August the 12th, 1999, he has a pretty horrible chart. Mars, Saturn. He has Saturn, Mars, Saturn opposition. Mars and Saturn as a pair, they are the death pair. And that Mars-Saturn opposition, is incredibly frustrated, really, really frustrated. I'm just feeling that they can't express themselves. It's so aggravating, and it's in fixed signs. Saturn opposition Mars. Someone who is desperately trying to get their frustrations out into the out. Let me just when you think about that Mars Saturn opposition, just a reminder. Just to go back to the Bosnian webpage about some of the stuff he was saying. I drank tea and I want to kill myself. Mars opposition Saturn. I hate the world and I want to cause as much pain as possible in it. And then this. I drink tea and I want to kill myself. And then talking about his ears. 2 days later, he complained that his ears were ringing so much that he would pull them out. That's Mars-Saturn opposition in extreme, in extremis. Yes. So he was born with that, but it's worse than that, because look at his sun. He's got his sun at 19 Leo. So his sun was making a T-square with Mars and Saturn, and in fact Uranus. So you got Uranus he has Sun opposition Uranus. He has Mars opposition Saturn. So it's really a grand cross. Incredible frustration there. And in the end, incredible violence. Now, if you look at his chart, he doesn't have any air in his. Doesn't have any traditional planets in air signs. Now, intellectually, apparently, he was a really good student. I think his dissertation was on Polish history or something. I think he got a prize. So, really good student. So if you've got no air in your chart, it's not about an intellectual deficit. It's about a lack of mental flexibility. It's about him focusing on one thing, and particularly with all that fixity. Look at all the fixity in his chart. Look at all those personal planets in fixed signs. The traditional planets in fixed signs. He's got Sun in Leo, fixed sign. Mercury in Leo, a fixed sign. Mars in Scorpio in a fixed sign. So he's got 5 out of 7 personal planets. Possibly the moon. We don't know where the moon is. Moon might be in Leo, might be in... So he's got 5 or 6 personal planets in fixed signs. So once it gets into his head that he wants to do something, he just goes and he will do it. And he will sort of bottle it up, and when he hits a moment, he does it. And I suppose that might be about his ideas as well. Having very fixed ideas, and it's so, yeah. And if he had a bit more air in his chart, he might have the flexibility to sort of play around with the ideas and not realize, come up with other things to do, except not just be a serial killer. So there is something extremely extreme about that chart. Extremely extreme. Sorry, it doesn't sound too good, does it? And he's got Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is a planet that can be very vindictive. It's well placed. Mars in Scorpio. I mean, I suppose effectively killing all those people. Well, you could say Mars in its own sign. That's good. Well, I mean, not good, but Mars is working well, and that Sun, but not in a very nice way. I must emphasize. And that he's got Sun square Mars. So that's not good. And like Claudine Gay, he has Venus in Virgo, Venus retrograde in Virgo. So Saturn went stationary direct at the beginning of November. So Saturn went stationary direct opposition his Venus. And I would not be surprised if that was a trigger. Saturn stationary direct opposition Venus, it could have been frustrations about relationships that might have been a trigger. He might have felt sort of alienated. Some Venus issue might have been the trigger for him to start on this run, which led to this massacre in Prague. So that is a possibility. Now, as far as the actual shooting is concerned, let's I think this is the right one. Okay, so that's his chart in the middle. Um, that's the chart for when the Prague shooting. What was it on the 21st, 3 in the afternoon? So what was going on in his chart? He had roughly his Jupiter return. So Jupiter takes 12 years to go through all the signs. So you have a Jupiter return when you're 12 and you have a Jupiter return when you're 24. And if I've got his date of birth right, he turned 24 in August. So his natal Jupiter is at 443 Taurus and his transiting Jupiter is at 544. So he has had his Jupiter return some time ago, but now Jupiter is going retrograde back towards his Jupiter. Another this kind of reminds me of whose chart? Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has his Jupiter in Hunter Biden has his Jupiter in Taurus, I think. Hunter Biden has his Jupiter in Scorpio. So Hunter Biden had Jupiter opposition his Jupiter. And that's going on right now. And I was speculating that, this whole thing might be a bit too much for him. All these speculation about what he's doing and his charges, etc., etc. So I was reminded a bit there of what's going on Hunter Biden, but of course it's not going to end as badly as with David Kozak. So going back to David Kozak's chart, so there's his Jupiter, natal Jupiter, and look at Mars. Now Mars at the time of the shooting was at 1938 Sagittarius. So that means that Mars was moving towards, in the sky, we've got the beginning of a Mars-Jupiter sesquiquadrate. But actually Mars, if you look at his Jupiter, his natal Jupiter is at 443, transiting Mars at 1938. So transiting Mars was exactly 135 degrees from his natal Jupiter. And so that, I think, was a major trigger for what he did. That's what he did. I mean, Jupiter transiting his Jupiter was sort of quite close to his natal Jupiter, and then transiting Mars was the thing that seemed to really trigger it. But of course, we don't have a time of birth. We could be more precise. I mean, by the way, if you look at Mars was also exactly trine his natal sun. In astrology, we often see trines as being good. It's a good aspect, but they're easy aspects. They allow things to happen. So when Mars trined his sun, that may have been, may have facilitated what he did in Prague. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on David Kozak. I don't know, about the precise events, about the precise astrology, which made him do it when he did it, except for Mars sesquiquadrate his Jupiter and Mars trine his Sun. I would have liked to have found a bit more. But I think you can see that David Kozak does have a really bad chart. And that Grand Cross we can understand how someone with a Grand Cross might do what he did. So it could be a lot to do with that eclipse on August the 11th, 1999. And I was just thinking, I remember what I was thinking in August 1999. I was thinking, well, is this so bad? But what I didn't know is that on that eclipse, David Kozak was about to be born, and that certainly was a bad event. Okay, that's all I'm going to say now. Thank you for listening. If you like the video, then like it. Press the like button. If you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to buy me a coffee, there is a link in the description. Anyway, thanks again for listening. And I will talk to you again very soon.